You know what? This isn't enough. No, I can still go for another one. So, the AKG K7XX. Yeah, sure, why not? Now we're listening to music. I'm sure they all make it look hilarious, but then they don't even show you how they have to get it off. Oh, God. Well, yeah. Alright, so all joking aside, I have the AKG K7XX Massdrop First Edition headphones. These are my first set of reference headphones and also my first experience with anything above 32 ohm impedance. These have a 62 ohm impedance. All that really means is they're going to take a little bit more to push them. Not much, but just a little bit. But we'll get in that later. So let's start with the packaging. The K7XX has a wide audio bandwidth, 10 Hz to 39,800 Hz. So they have a patented Varimotion 2-layer diaphragm, just means it sounds really good, a flat wire voice coil, more things that make it sound good, and high dynamic range, basically what they just said, again. And it has a genuine leather band. On the back of the package you'll get more detailed descriptions of all the things I just said, and what they actually do. Now onto the headphones themselves. The detachable cable is a 3.5mm to 1/4 inch adapter that screws on, which is nice if you want to leave it adapted to 1/4 inch so it can't just pop off. And the other end is mini XLR, which I thought was really interesting. Also, the packaging claims that the cable is 99.99% oxygen free. The ear cup padding is amazing. It's memory foam and the ear cups themselves are freaking huge. Bigger than any of my other headphones, even the Corsair Vengeance 2100. They're even bigger than my freaking palm of my hands. The insides of the ear cups have a nice material inside them, and the ear cup drivers seem to be tilted towards the back a little bit, which is nice because my ears tend to face forwards rather than straight off the side of my head. This also means that you want to push the headphones more to the front of your head rather than the back of it. When listening to music, you can push the headphones front and back and hear the difference. When pushed to the front of my head, the sound seems muffled like it's got something in front of the drivers, and when it's pushed back, it's perfectly clear like they're supposed to be. The ear cups in the K7XX are also open back, so they don't block off as much sound as other headphones, but with my experience you can compensate by turning up the volume. Some sound will leak, so I wouldn't go in public blasting music unless you're trying to be that person, but that's up to you. Linus actually has a video on open back headphones in his Fast as Possible series, so you can check that in the video description below. There are two plastic rails to support the two ear cups and an elastic band suspension system with the leather headband to rest the headphones on your head. I can't speak to the longevity of the elastic because I've only had the K7XX for like a month, but if they break, I'll be learning how to get-a-rig them because I absolutely love these headphones. About the only thing I don't like about the K7XX is the fact that it doesn't have an included microphone. That's okay though because Antlion has a Mod Mic 4 right here that is actually really good, and I'll be doing a separate video on that, so make sure you're subscribed. So let's get to driving these things. The 62 ohm impedance doesn't take much, but depending on what you're using, you may need a little bit of an extra push to get the K7XX to a comfortable listening level. My E07K, depending on your source, will need the gain turned on, specifically for things like Netflix, because Netflix natively has a lower sound than most other things, at least in my experience. My Moto G could push audio to it just fine, but it almost sounded like you needed a little bit of an extra push. That's where the E07K comes in really handy. My OnePlus One, however, does not need any help. I can push this thing perfectly fine, like half level, and it's perfectly good. I don't even need to turn it up any more than that. You could if you really wanted to, like if you're in a noisy situation, but again, unless you're trying to be that guy, hey, or girl, I don't judge. If you're inexperienced with these kinds of headphones, I'd suggest just getting the headphones first and then experimenting with them. If you feel like you need an amp after that, go for an amp. But otherwise, then I would just stick with what you have. You can never go wrong with having a dedicated DAC because it gets the audio away from your computer, and I've even tried the AKG K7XX directly on my computer and I still have electrical noise. So I've ruled out everything except for the fact that my computer is really bad subject for electrical noise. So if you're experienced about electrical noise, the only thing I can really tell you to do would be get an external DAC. My Samsung Series 9 Ultrabook didn't push these headphones as loud as I'd like them to either, so I tried a couple of other things, like the StarTech USB DAC. This actually let it put out great audio. I didn't even need the E07K. You could use this, but it has its own pros and cons, like you'd have to use the built-in Windows volume control rather than having a nice knob or something that you'd be able to, like, you know, visually just reach over and hit at your convenience. This would be completely personal preference, and if you didn't want to go out and spend a whole bunch of money on a dedicated amp and DAC, you could try one of these, and it may just be your saving grace. One thing to note though about the StarTech DAC, I had to set the microphone in on the Windows options to 48,000 Hertz. Otherwise, there's this really irritating beeping noise that all of my friends were yelling at me about. They were like, oh my god, stop talking, because every time you talk, there's a beep, fix it. And I was like, I don't know what's causing it, because every time I tried to do anything with it, it was fine. So just go in and set it to 48,000 Hertz and you'll be fine. So here's where I start with the K7XX and my E0 7K and 9K combo. It was the most elegant solution that I have because I invested probably most of my time and my money into that solution. I love it because the E0 9K amp does a very clean job of amplifying anything I throw at it and makes it sound absolutely amazing. The added benefit of it is the fact that it has line out that I can take straight to my AverMedia capture cards and record my PC audio whenever I feel like it. This is nice because when I turn the volume knob, I only get the headphones affected and not the recorded audio. So how does the K7XX sound? Well, they sound flat. There's no getting around it. They're reference headphones. Reference headphones by design are made to sound flat. They're made to reproduce the audio as close to as intended as possible, with no modulation or modification. So the K7XX have a 3 dB boost in the bass, which makes them kind of unique compared to other reference headphones, but they're still pretty much reference headphones. I still find myself when listening to music kind of bumping up the bass on my E0 7K, but not too often because I've kind of grown accustomed to the flatness, I guess you could say, sound to it. It doesn't sound bad, don't get me wrong. I actually like it. That's why I'm still listening to them. But some songs, they don't have the kick that you kind of want. And I mean, in headphones, you're not going to get a lot of kick, but when you give it a little bit of bass, you'll be able to know what I'm talking about. Movies is where the K7XX really shine for me, because movies with great soundtracks, they get reproduced without any modification, so they just sound better. I mean, I don't really know how to explain it other than put a pair of reference headphones on and go watch a movie. Now, keep in mind that these are open headphones, so you don't want a lot of ambient noise bothering you. You can compensate by turning up the volume, but that doesn't always, work in quiet, dark scenes when something's ready to jump out at you or something. That's the part that always is really fun. But playing games, you get the same feeling. I actually went back and played Doom 3 almost the entire way through just because of the soundtrack. I mean, if you dim the lights and have just the game running, I mean, you get so sucked into it, and it's just like, oh my god, there's something there that's gonna eat me. Jesus. I don't play a lot of scary games like Amnesia or anything. Those I think would be great though. I don't know about them because, again, I haven't played them, but if you really wanted to just hear everything the way it was intended to be heard, reference headphones are going to be your best friend. Try a pair of reference headphones, and if you don't like them, return them. I mean, I don't really know how else to go about saying it. I think that the reference headphones are great and have their place, especially for content creations, because content creating, you want a flat sound because that's where everybody would start, would be flat. And then they all work from there. I mean, the Kraken Pro have a lot more bass compared to these or any of my other headphones really, but these are the flattest, and that's what you kind of want when you're content creating. Now, that doesn't always mean it's good for everything else. Some things do need a little bit of help, like music. Some music's not going to be, the greatest with a flat frequency response, which is why pretty much everybody that actually listens to music has their car EQ set up a little bit different. Every car speaker system is going to be different. I mean, you can, get the identical equipment, but aside from that, everybody's car is going to sound different. That's the same with headphones. If you really wanted to have, it customized your own way, I would suggest starting with reference headphones and then going up with EQ from there. That's if you want to get into all that. If you don't want to get on that, they're still great. I don't get into that other than I put a couple points into bass every once in a while. Not always. I mean, they'd sound great without them. That's all I can really say. I mean, I'm actually monitoring myself with this camera using the K7XX right now. There's no EQ on it, but that's how I can tell, how it's going to sound when I'm done. Now, there's not always the greatest idea of monitoring yourself with open back headphones. I haven't noticed it, like, picking myself up like out of the headphones because I don't have it cranked up that high. But some people will tell you don't do it with open back headphones because the microphone has a chance of picking it up. I haven't noticed it. I mean, your mileage might vary. That's all I can really say on that one. The audio tech world is truly different and something it's really fun to get into, especially if you enjoy modifying audio or playing with audio or anything of the sort. I mean, I dabble with guitar every once in a while. I'm not very good at it, but I do. And the Kraken, they sound good, but when you're actually trying to play it, it sounds deeper than it is. Like if you were to record it and then play it back, it's not going to sound the same if you're listening on like desktop speakers when you're listening to like the Kraken Pro. With these, they're going to sound as close as can be to the guitars playing. The best suggestion I could give anybody that wants to try reference headphones would be try the reference headphones. If you found this video or have been looking at reference headphones and you're even like ideally considering the fact of trying reference headphones, try the reference headphones. You don't have to go crazy and buy an expensive amp. An O2 amp isn't terribly expensive, but you could just get one of those if you feel you need it. You should try to run the headphones first without the amp, because you might not need the amp. If you want the amp, get the amp. There's not going to be a better solution than getting a dedicated amp, but you might not be one that needs it. But that's personal preference and completely subjective to the person. I know I keep saying the fact that everything's subjective a lot, but it really is. I'm not going to be able to say, oh, this sounds absolutely amazing, and then somebody else is going to be like, oh, that sucks. That's how audio is. I mean, you're not going to be able to get around it. Now, these headphones have truly been some of the best headphones that I've owned. They are also the first reference, and they are also the first of this magnitude. So that's about all I can say about the K7XX. I mean, everything's really going to be subjective to the person that's listening, but if you have any comments or anything you want to say, put them down in the comment section below. If you have anything you want to suggest to people getting into reference headphones, put that in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think. I mean, I don't know anything else I can really say about reference headphones, but if you have anything you want to tell people, put that down in the comments below. Like this video if you like it, dislike it if you disliked it, share it to your friends that might be interested in some reference headphones, and check the video description. I'm going to put Linus's open back fast as possible video there, and I'll put the StarTech DAC there, and thanks for watching. Catch you next time. Peace.